The second thing, okay, is after they tell you that, oh, in macroecons, two things really matter. Number one, you want healthy performance. Performance of the economy. You want healthy performance. Do you know how to measure the performance? How many indicators are there? Okay, very close. Because when you look at performance, you're looking at the whole country, not so much the average resident. So here we are looking at the four goals. Sustained growth, okay, low unemployment, price stability, healthy balance of payment. Okay, four goals. So the first thing we're interested in is how do you assess whether an economy is healthy? First thing. Okay. But you look at microecons, we have efficiency concepts, which are very cold, hard conditions. P equals to MC, AE. Lowest cost possible, PE. But econs has a very human side to it. To balance off the very cold and hard figures, in microecons, we talk about fairness. We talk about equity as well. Yes? Efficiency, very factual. Equity is a bit more human nature. You want to see whether the people are treated fairly, correct? In macroecons, the four goals are very cold, hard indicators, right? Growth at all costs, low inflation, low unemployment, healthy balance of payment. So there's another more human side to it. What is it? Aside from healthy performance, you want to make sure, let's say performance is your house. Oh, a very nice house. But what if the person inside is crying? Then very sad, no? Then how? What do you want to assess? Standards of living. We want to also assess living standards of your, not economy anymore, but your average resident. Material and non-material. So by design, SEAB, Cambridge, they sat down together and they will say, in macroecons, we need to make sure students understand this first. Okay? I don't need to tell you what the four goals or the indicators. That one you are beyond that already. Yes? Next question. Do you remember that material standards is measured using a certain indicator? What is it? See if you remember. Material standards, what do we use? GDP, is it? Gini coefficient also. Gini coefficient is also very important. Gini coefficient plus GDP. But the GDP we are looking at is a very specific one. Real GDP per capita, right? Plus Gini coefficient, okay, blah, blah, blah. Sometimes we even say untransacted or unrecorded transactions, household services. We'll get on to that in a bit. Okay? But also, if you look at the four goals, one of the goals is sustained economic growth, right? Sustained economic growth, we also look at real GDP growth rate. Whether it's actual growth, potential growth, they all contribute to real GDP going up. There's also price stability, blah, blah, blah. But let me just focus on these two goals. From these two goals, do you realize, real GDP is common to both outcomes? Okay? For both outcomes, real GDP is common, which means how to then measure real GDP becomes a focus. GDP is a very important indicator. It is universal to the macro outcomes. Standard of living, performance, both require understanding of real GDP. That's why we want to know how to measure real GDP. Yes? So the next part is a natural progression. Okay, like you say, oh, to be healthy, you need to make sure your cholesterol level is not very high. The next thing we want to know is how then do I check my existing cholesterol level? Okay, not a concern for people your age, right? And I hope, well, as a vegetarian, maybe not a concern for me, but let's say for a lot of people, it is a concern. So how do you measure real GDP? In econs, we are only interested in one particular thing, which is equilibrium. You don't want to report these numbers to your finance minister, and the finance minister goes to parliament, they realize, hey, the numbers have changed. So we want numbers with no tendency for further change, right? How to measure equilibrium GDP? When I was a student, we had 3 models. Now there are only 2 models. The first model is your circular flow model.